Hello guys, welcome back. The today video is about many-to-many relationships in the Laravel. So in the previous videos we discussed about has one and has too many relationships. So if you are not familiar with this one, you watch my previous videos. I will add the link in the description. So let's start this many-to-many relationship. So many-to-many relationship is used to call the many entities from to many, like we have multiple users and multiple user have multiple posts, or multiple posts have multiple users, so it means that both have many to many relationship. So how we can perform this many to many relationship using, we are going to use this through pivot table. So what is pivot table? So first understand it. Pivot table is a intermediary table which belongs to both tables. So let's understand it with the example. For example, we have a users table which contain an ID and name, and in our case make this posts, right? We have post ID and post name, and the third table would be this roles, like in our case post, and then the other table singular name. You don't need to mention the plural, right? Just to get the singular name of the tables. So the name is user. So in our case it should be a post user. In our case it's not post, it's a user post. Why? Because Laravel will create the pivot table from this alphabetically. So let's give it a read from there. Yes, documentation says that role table is derived from alphabetically order of related models name containing user ID and role ID column. So it means that if you come first, then you need to first define the user table name, and then if R first, then you need to define the R first, R table of the name. Like in this case, in alphabetically ABC, R comes first, that's why we added this role here, and then U at the second, that's why we added this here. So that is a scenario of creating the pivot table, and then we need to define only user ID and role ID, which is this primary key and this primary key, right? So hopefully you understand this concept. So let's implement in it our code. In the previous videos we implemented this one to many relationship. So let me open the text editor, and yes, we implemented this post relation with the user model, and user has many posts, so that's why we are displaying here one to many posts, right? So now the time is to remove this user ID from the post and add this into a separate table. So let's go there into the previous migration and drop the user ID from there. So let me go there, let me open it bigger, this one, and you know that how we can roll back a specific migration. So let me roll back a specific migration. So its a syntax is php artisan migrate rollback, and then it's a rollback, and then you need to specify the path. The path should be this database slash migration slash this, right? And I shooted a separate video on this, so you can may watch this video. I will add the link in the description. So let me set the path here. It's a migrations, not migration. So let me copy the path from there and paste it here, right? And hit enter. So it will roll back only this migration, not all migration. So it's throwing error. Let me fix the error. It says file does not exist. So I think I'm missing the path to database slash. So it's a database. Hit enter, and yes, it's rollback a specific migration. So let's go there and remove the user ID from there. So let me go there, and yes, this user ID is there. So let's remove it from there, and also we need to remove it from there. I think I already removed it. Okay, save this one and run the command php artisan migrate. It's php artisan migrate, and hit enter. So it will migrate this migration, yes. And let me check that in the database. So give it a refresh, and it will, and yes, user ID is disappeared. Great. So let's start it let's create another migration, which is about we are going to create a pivot table. So command is php artisan migrate, make migration, not migrate, add pivot table, add it's a post user table, and then you need to specify the create here. So it's a create, and then you need to define your table name. In our case it's a post user, right? And hit enter. It will create new migration for us, and then we need to specify the column in the migration, right? And here we don't need these two things, so let's remove them and add this a table. Okay, table, and then we need to mention the id. So it's an integer, so it should be a user. First you need to define the post. What the hell is this? Post id, and then you need to define the second one. So it should be user id. So let me make this user id, and that's it. Your pivot table is ready now. Post id, user id, great. And then you need to run the php artisan migrate command. php artisan migrate. Okay, hit enter, and yes, our table is migrated. So let me check that in the database. So hit refresh and wait for a moment to complete this. And yes, we have a new table there, and we have a post id and user id. So in the future video we will add the post id and user id in this table. So let's meet in the next video.